Georgia is the Democrat firewall. And if you're wondering why Herschel Walker is suddenly getting pummeled in every direction by every different story imaginable, it's because he, in the Democrat mind, is the only way they can maintain that seat is by destroying him. And they have spent over $50 million in Georgia trying to eviscerate him. Things are looking really, really good for Adam Laxalt in Nevada for basically that state to flip red. Governor's race looking good, the Senate race looking good, and I would argue that that is the reason why all of these attacks are now raining down on Herschel Walker so aggressively, because our boy Ron Johnson up in Wisconsin, there's an article. Remember we talked, Buck, about how the New York Times basically let it be known to everybody that Stacey Abrams was going to get totally waxed in that race in Georgia. And we said this is interesting that they would write this. Now there's a New York Times article about Mandela Barnes, who is running against Senator Johnson, and it ends with them saying Senator Johnson is so confident he was happy to go on Twitter and show how fast he could drink a beer after he got endorsed by the local Brewers Union or whatever it was. And by the credit to him, pounded a pint in under 4 seconds of Miller Lite. But this is interesting to me.
And I think that the crime issue overall, and let's be clear about this, it is the massive nationwide decrease in security of persons and property across the United States as a direct consequence of bad ideas, of racial politics, of lunatic decision-making from Democrats, okay? That is exactly what has led to this. That is the reason why we have seen the defund police and mass incarceration, the social justice over criminal justice mindset. And for a lot of people, if you're thinking, who should I vote for? When one party so clearly has made it more likely that you may be carjacked, that you may have somebody pull a gun and put it in your face. I was telling you, one of Carrie's friends out in California had a baby stroller, and a lunatic ran up and assaulted her and tried to steal her purse. I mean, it's like when this stuff happens to people, they get angry and they want to blame the people who are to blame, which is Democrats. So that's why I think this is actually finally really setting in as a major driver, and it should be a major driver for this election. If you live in the state of Oregon, if you live in the state of Nevada, by the way, I get emails every time you say the other way. They yell at me, just so you know. I get yelled at.
It's like when you gave Batman. Eventually, I'm gonna pronounce it right. Nevada? Did I say it
Nevada,
right that time?
Yes.
Nevada.
And if you, I think I'm like the Clay whisperer. People like, tell Clay to do this. I'm like, he's Clay. He does whatever he wants.
Nevada.
There we go.
That's all correct.
Yes. So, but with Washington State, all these places, you have an opportunity to try to turn things around, and if anything else, show your displeasure with the lunatics who have made it so just essentially decriminalized crime. I don't know what else to say. These people are crazy.
Okay, so 2 data points that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. I love, as we have talked about a lot, to follow the gambling markets because I want to see where people are really putting their money. Offshore right now, Adam Laxalt in Nevada has moved out. Did I say it wrong again? Has moved out to minus 200. All right, he is now at minus 200. The money is all pouring in on him. He is going to win that Senate seat. When I say this, I don't feel like I need to do it every time, but I kind of do. You still have to show up and vote, all right? So I don't want to be accused of like driving down turnout because I'm telling you that things are going well. All of you out there listening still have to show up and do your civic duty and actually vote. Don't allow me telling you that things are going well for you to suddenly say, well, I've got a little league basketball game. My kids are busy. No, get your votes in, all right? But he is going to win this state. What I'm giving you, and I'll build on this to start the next hour, this is where the Herschel attacks are coming from. So Laxalt is winning. That's +1. That's a Democrat seat that's going off the board. If everything else stayed the same, that would mean Republicans take the Senate. Okay? There are other places of attack. Our boy Ron Johnson, I was just talking about it, he is starting to blow out Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin. Everybody in Wisconsin still needs to vote, but in the odds market, Ron Johnson is out to minus 350. He is a big favorite. It means you'd have to wager $350 to get back $100, and all the money is pouring in on him. It's all pouring in on Laxalt. And there's increasing nervousness about Fetterman, who is a disaster of a candidate, and that they are going to win Pennsylvania. What does that all mean? That if they lose Georgia, they are going to lose the Senate 100%. So Herschel Walker, big circle, big X, he is the target.
Georgia is the Democrats' Senate Maginot Line for you history fans out there. You remember how that went, by the way.
Yes, he is their target. So for everybody out there listening, Georgia gave Biden the Senate in January of 2021, 2 special elections that were lost, cost the country trillions of dollars. Georgia, you are getting an opportunity for a redo. The center of the nation is now pivoting to you and this race. Everything has slowed down. If you start to look at all the gambling markets and sort of think of yourself as the maestro who is designing the Democrat attempt to maintain control of the Senate. The House is gone, okay? And I understand that they're trying to turn it into maybe that. No. If you look at where the money is, and I'm talking about gambling markets, gamblers are looking at it and they're like, the over-under right now for Republican pickup is 19.5. So Republicans, I believe, need 5, and if you were out there gambling right now, the over-under is around 20. We want to exceed that. I think we likely will, but it's important to understand what's going on. Ron Johnson is now trounced. He's going to be with us next Wednesday. Our friend Ron Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, he's been on the show a ton, is now trouncing his Democratic challenger. Crime is the number one issue, Buck, in Wisconsin, and Johnson's opponent has been a defund the police guy. He's been a left-wing loon, and Wisconsins aren't standing for it. And Ron Johnson, as we sit here 33 days out, is pounding him, and all of the money is pouring on him in Wisconsin. He's going to win.
Milwaukee's crime rate, by the way, is just awful, and has been getting worse in recent years. So that's another time. You think about a place where Democrats have been calling the shots. Things are just getting worse, especially on the crime issue. I mean, find me a state with Democrats or a city with Democrats in charge in this country, and I'll show you a place where the crime rate has gone up a lot in the last few years.
Adam Laxalt in Nevada. Did I say it right?
Nevada.
I don't know why I can't get it right. He's going to win. Nevada.
Just to our Nevadans out there, Clay loves you and your state. Big Nevada fan. He's just...
I've spent a lot of money in Las Vegas over the years. There's a lot of you out there.
Plan,
I am a one-man stimulus package when it comes to money that I've spent in Las Vegas. So yes, I have put, unlike Joe Biden, I've put money in a capitalistic system in your pocket without destroying the economy in Las Vegas and the larger state. Laxalt's going to win. Laxalt is going to win, and that is a flip. So if nothing else changed, they wanted to try to take out Ron Johnson. They're going to fail. Nothing else changed right now. Laxalt is the underdog who is leading. Now, Fetterman, they're making their case for Fetterman. I think Buck secretly, they're aware that they're going to lose Pennsylvania. Democrats are trying to, put a good face on it, but I think they see the momentum from Oz. I think they know that Fetterman is a disaster of a candidate, and they are seeing his what's formidable lead completely evaporate. The reason why all of this, and this is Matrix style, putting it all together, it's not going to happen in Ohio for Democrats. We're going to talk with Ted Budd here, I believe, in a little bit next hour.
Yes, sir.
He's going to be the next senator from North Carolina.
Yep.
He's going to win. Not going to happen for Democrats there. There are still other places, Arizona, New Hampshire, where Republicans can pick up, and we hope they do. But the result of all this map that I just laid out for you in the Senate is Georgia is the Democrat firewall. And if you're wondering why Herschel Walker is suddenly getting pummeled in every direction by every different story imaginable, it's because he, in the Democrat mind, is the only way they can maintain that seat is by destroying him. And they have spent over $50 million in Georgia trying to eviscerate him.
So let's just be clear for everybody out there about what's really happening in terms of the money here. Same thing with Stacey Abrams. For all of our Georgians listening to us right now, we love Georgia. For all of our Georgians listening, the richest people in New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, some areas of, Connecticut, etc., but the richest people who are Democrats in those places want to pick your Georgia governor and the next senator from the state of Georgia for you. That is where all that money is coming from. These are candidates who are backed by coastal lib elites who don't give a what about the state of Georgia, probably don't spend ever any time in the state of Georgia, but they feel better about their own politics and the future of the country under the collectivist loons if they can help buy for Stacey Abrams and for Raphael Warnock wins.
That is why all of a sudden Herschel Walker is under siege. It's not a coincidence that the New York Times and the Daily Beast are going to war with Herschel Walker. They are default campaign contributors to the Democrat ideology. And Georgians, you guys, I believe, are going to decide who controls the Senate in 2022. You guys are going to do it. Now, it's basically a do-over because you had the same decision in January of 2021, and Warnock and Ossoff both got in the first place. And frankly, that's cost the country trillions of dollars in spending that we never needed to spend.
That was, we should all be honest about it, that was a GOP own goal. Because I remember, Clay, after the election, before you and I teamed up, speaking on my show at the time, telling everybody, look, as long as we pull off one Senate seat in Georgia, nothing really, Biden's not going to be able to get away with doing too much damage in the first 2 years. We lost them both. And we lost them because there was a lot more focus on the election that had already happened. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't have been some, obviously, there are a lot of questions, there was a lot of lawsuits, a lot of things going on, but we needed to focus in that time and place on getting it done in Georgia. I think this time around, with the clarity of who's really at issue here in Georgia, I think it's going to be very difficult for Democrats to convince the convincible that in any way the last 2 years has shown us anything other than the fact that the Democrats are in charge. Your life is worse. That's just, everything is more expensive. You're less safe. You get more lectures about white supremacy and how, we need to be teaching kids in school about LGBTQ and transitions when they're in kindergarten. I mean, all the things that we have seen, and the Green New Deal, green energy stuff. What have they done that has made the lives of anyone who lives in the state of Georgia better? I mean, you really can ask that question. I got nothing for them.
Joe Biden has a 40% approval rate in the state of Georgia right now. Raphael Warnock will not appear with him in the state of Georgia for that reason. But Raphael Warnock is a rubber stamp for Joe Biden's agenda. So listen to me carefully, Georgia. 60% of you believe that Joe Biden is doing an awful job. Why in the world would you give Joe Biden Georgians' approval to make even more awful decisions? A vote for Raphael Warnock is a vote for Joe Biden to continue to be the worst president in any of our lives. A vote for Herschel Walker is a firewall on the Republican side against Joe Biden's awfulness. I just don't see that as a very difficult decision. And that's where you have to cut through all the noise, and everybody's going to come after Herschel, and we've had him a lot on this show, and they're going to pick him apart, and they're going to say he did this, he did that. All you have to decide is this Senate seat in Georgia is a referendum on Joe Biden. 60% of Georgians believe Joe Biden is doing a bad job. 60% of Georgians should be voting for Herschel Walker to keep him from doing a worse
how
job
does the
by
Senate
supporting
matter?
Raphael Warnock.
How does the Senate matter to people? Do they go along? I mean, obviously they can declare war, which we basically don't do anymore. I mean, there are some things the Senate does. The Senate can confirm nominees. Obviously, puts through a Supreme Court justice. Those are important things. But ultimately, it's from a legislative perspective: are they for or against the agenda of the White House? That's how.
Right.
That's how the Senate really matters. Are they trying to spend tons of money on crazy things, or are they actually taking a rational approach to what's best for the country and fiscally responsible? So there's no separating the Senate race in Georgia from the Biden White House, because those two things together are the political decision.
That's the race.
That is the race.
That's the race. And so you have a big national decision to make, Georgians. And look, I'm a big Atlanta Braves fan. I spent a lot of time down in Georgia. Don't let me down. More importantly, don't let everybody else out there who you're talking to that's like, well, did you know in 1989 Herschel Walker did, or did you know in 2004? None of that matters. This is a binary choice. Are you with Joe Biden or are you against him? If you are with him, you should go vote for Reverend Raphael Warnock, because he's going to rubber stamp everything that Joe Biden wants. If you are against Joe Biden, then you are riding with Herschel, and you better be out aggressively supporting him.
That's where we are.
That's the stakes.
Those are the stakes. That is the situation.
I'm Matrix style breaking it down for you there.
I do think this is going to be a one or two seat difference. It's not. Unfortunately, we're not going to have 55 Republican seats no matter what at the end of this. We might have 51, maybe 52, probably only 51.
I'm telling you, they get the tie break. So all they got to do is stay at 50-50, because Kamala, is going to cackle her way behind whatever Joe Biden wants to do. So if you want Biden and Kamala, if you want them to control everything in the United States Senate, continue to spend trillions of dollars, continue to run this country in the worst possible way they can, then you need to be out there voting for Reverend Raphael Warnock. He is Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Warnock, their team. If you don't, you need to be knocking on doors. You need to be out there getting everybody in your church, everybody in your friend group. You need to have them going out and supporting Herschel, because that's why. This is the real story here that that's why they're coming after him. You think they suddenly, just in October, found out about some allegation of Herschel Walker 15 years ago? You think they suddenly went down to Wrightsville, Georgia, and decided that Herschel wasn't black enough to represent Georgia? No.
I think it's October, and they were planning a surprise.
They have been ready for this since June and July, and they know this is their firewall, and they're nervous. Do you have Herschel's back or not, Georgians? That's the question. Are you Joe Biden's boy or not? If you are, go vote for Reverend Raphael Warnock. You love Joe Biden. If you don't, you better be pushing that ticket for Herschel Walker as aggressively as you can.